Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sure you did want to see the #1 highlight. I mean, who wants this? Who really cares about the #1 highlight? Because I got a better #1 highlight. It's going to be this series right here. Uh, I say that, but you know what? I'd be lying if I said that this was expected to be a very close series. Talking a bit about these players, I love both of them. They're both very, very fantastic people. Voltz, very much one of the big up-and-comers, I think, in the scene. Has been a very active member of the community, but I think, well, let's just say that his prize money really tells the tale about how kind of one-sided this is expected to be, theoretically, but, you know, it's a Zerg versus Zerg. $77 to his name, representing Dankshine Pro, their only player, their first pickup. We have him facing off versus Storm Gaming's True, who has won $114,000 and $114,303, I should say. Also taking a look at the win rates, we have Voltz with a 35% win rate across the previous 39 competitive series he's played, and True with a 76.97% win rate across the last 78 games he's played. So I'm not going to pretend like this is going to be a series that I expect Voltz to win, or that he has a really, really good shot at this. I think that this is going to be probably one of the most uphill battles of any of the series that happened. But of course, that is sort of the way that seeding works. This is a series played in the winners round of 16. And you know what? ZVZ does sometimes have some magic happen. You can catch True off guard because True does play a bit weird sometimes. And sometimes kind of puts himself in an odd spot because he played a little too weird. We'll see what ends up happening. I did get the map intros fixed as we hop into game #1 on Abyssal Reef. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, game #1 in this best of 5 ZVZ. Spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player representing Dankshine Pro. Give it up for Voltz. And his opponent, spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, the blue Zerg player representing Storm Gaming. Put your hands together for True. America versus Korea, but Korea is pretty damn strong in this situation. I think True has been one of those players also that lately has been a bit up and down. He went back to Korea. I think that he is back in the United States now. He should be at the Storm Gaming house. Went home for a bit of a visit. But now has been training and getting back into form. He was losing games, I feel, as though some players that he really shouldn't have been losing to. But now he's definitely one of the big favorites, I think, to do quite well in WCS NA Challenger this season. Or at least that's what I would, given that I do know some results, without saying any spoilers. I think a lot of people would have expected True to do very well in WCS NA Challenger this season. And, of course, at any of the premier events, he'll probably end up being flown out, too. Regardless of whether he qualifies for Valencia. But, okay, a couple of Lings make their way across the map. We have Voltz trying to play a little bit greedy. Skipping out on the Baneling Nest. Skipping out on Zergling's speed. Just going straight into a Roachborn and a very fast lair. Oh, my God. Talk about levels of greed. Maybe plant down a Creep Tumor over here or something. No, just leaving the queen over here to wall off. Okay, there's a creep tumor. I was going to say, you want to probably get a little bit more of a wall off. True, on the other hand, is going to go up for his own baneling nest. He has Ling's speed finishing up, and he also has a third hatchery on the way. So it's going to be a very, very different kind of style from either of these players. It's going to be about also whether or not True identifies what he's up against. He's only now going to see, okay, the Evolution Chamber, Roach Warren, and presumably these Lings will get the guaranteed scout out on the lair. They're making 2 banelings. Oh, God. Voltz, did he see it? Okay, he did notice it. He is looking around for him. I don't know if the Queen DPS is high enough. I think the Baneling will finish and then regenerate all of his hit points when it does. They're going to run straight into that mineral line. One Baneling gets taken out, though, and the other Baneling cannot one-shot workers. They'll take him down to 5 hit points. You need the +2 melee attack if you want to one-shot the workers. But still, those drones will probably regenerate most of those hit points and be a-okay unless a big Ling Flood comes out from True. True gonna get up a much later Roach Warren, but at least has a much earlier third expansion. You can see sitting up 44 to 35 workers. Just has small little chunks of Lings kind of moving around the map, poking and prodding. Voltz's big advantage is going to come in the fact that he has a much faster lair tech, so he can get up roach speed and +1 missile attack. But he needs to be able to move out safely, and I think that is the big fear, is that he will not be able to move out. Couple of Lings make their way into the main base. Reconfirm, yes, in fact, you still have a lair. You didn't somehow kill off your own building in the last 45 seconds. I suppose getting an idea of the gas count may be somewhat useful, but for the most part, I think you should know, having seen the Evolution Chamber of the Roach Warren, exactly what he's going to be up against. There's maybe a chance that Voltz tried to transition out of this, but I feel like you'd just be so far behind. There's no real point in even trying for that. You're better off just trying to make the attack happen. Voltz is up 17 roaches to 7, but True is just getting out another big round of roaches. There is a Spire coming up behind this for Voltz, so he has a backup plan. He's going to try and get as much damage done as possible. Can he make it work? Spinecrawler in the mix. Queen also going to be adding in some nice bits of DPS. In terms of roach count, Voltz still does lead by a good bit, but he's relying on some of these Zergling reinforcements. Drones being pulled off the line. True losing a few workers, but still being okay. Could lose even more and still be okay. And the reinforcements for True just coming out so much faster. He's going to be able to clean up all of these roaches for Voltz, who's now sitting down 90 supply to 65. Taking out a few remaining workers and does take a worker advantage. Spire is on the way. Oh god, the missed rally of drones for Voltz. That's really painful. Gonna go ahead and immediately recorrect that, I think. Well, okay, yeah. Did recorrect that. Okay, but he has to almost effectively win the game off of the Spire because his third expansion is so much later than his opponent's. And True has already re-droned back up all of the drones that he lost and then some. 5 mutas on the way, but 5 mutas with only 3 gas worth of mining. He's not going to be able to really make nearly as many mutas as he would have liked with that extra gas geyser. But at least his third expansion is going to start getting up his 5th and 6th gas geysers a bit earlier on. Question is, what is True going to do? He probably is not going to be seeing this coming. This is a pretty left field maneuver. But the mutas are now here. Spore crawlers are going to get started up. True does have only 3 queens out, so this could be a bit problematic. Granted, only 4 mutas are going to have a hard time really getting too much damage done, but oh, they're just focus firing down the Ravagers. I actually really like this decision. It's kind of the more guaranteed damage. Not going after the workers because he knows that those queens are just going to chase him around everywhere, but he gets out of there alive with the mutas. They'll regenerate those hit points. Roaches for True, looking for an opportunity to get some damage done. Could go after +2 missile attacks, going after the Roach Warren instead, halting Roach production. Maybe True senses, you know what, if I just get a massive Roach army and go across the map, what are you going to do about it? You already lost so many of your Roaches. I already have a Roach advantage, and now you can't produce more? Well, he does have to be a bit careful, because these mutas will whittle away at his Roaches. Could gradually lose that Roach lead, as you can see over here. But True's making Hydras, and that's the reason why he's actually starting to fall, not exactly behind, but not catching up or staying super far ahead of Voltz on the Roach count. Those Hydras will not only be able to deal with any number of mutas that come out in the main engagement, but they'll also be able to deal a lot more damage than any of Voltz's Roaches could really handle. Well, Voltz is doing a nice job, at least taking out some of these Overlords, really seizing control of the map. I think that there may be one or two more Overlords more forward. But these are protected by the Hydras, which Voltz will scout out with all of his mutas. An expensive scout, the 400 gas scout. Yeah, it would have been really nice if it had been able to keep those alive. But even 4 or 5 mutas can be very annoying, taking out a drone here and there, leaving you with only 2 guys on gas, and sometimes you don't notice it. Killing off any lings around the map that are scouting, killing off Overlords and shutting down vision. But now I think that True is almost maxed out. He's continuing to get out as many Roaches as possible, but he's going for the big attack. He's got +2 melee. He's tied up, to be fair, with Voltz on those upgrades. So there's no real upgrade advantage going on either side. But a lot of banelings being made for Voltz. No baneling speed just yet. It's seconds away from finishing. There it is. He's going to come rolling on in. He loses this 4th. Corrosive Bile is going to land on top of most of these Roaches. I mean, relatively good baneling hits. That's about as good of an engagement as Voltz could ever ask for. The Hydra is really not in that high of numbers, and I think Voltz might actually be able to take this engagement. Couple more banelings also softening up these Roaches. Voltz is starting to push True back across the map, but the Remax is already coming out for True. He's still sitting relatively even in supply, and that is the scary thing about True's situation, or for Voltz's situation, is that even now, it seems like he's going to have trouble pushing him, even after taking a pretty damn good engagement. Overlord being taken out, the rocks being knocked down, but every second that he's attacking these rocks is another second that True just gets to use that slightly better economy to pump out more units, gets a better concave, takes out most of the Roaches. The frontline tank for Voltz is gone. He comes back and retreats to some of his reinforcements so the Ravagers can survive a little bit longer. Corrosive Bile's whiffing though, and True is just going to be retreating back. He now has a +1 Carapace upgrade, but I don't believe it matters in Roach versus Roach wars. Maybe helps out a little bit versus the Ravagers, but doesn't actually help reduce the number of attacks it takes for your Roaches to die. Or I should say increase the number of attacks it takes. And now True is starting to climb back up ahead in supply. Pumping out more and more of these Roaches, up 32 to 24. And Voltz is just going to run out of steam eventually. He does not have that 4th expansion. Even if he's sitting on a relatively even worker count, he was so close. If he had been able to even just move in seconds earlier, failing speed had finished up 2 to 3 seconds earlier, if he'd been able to salvage that 4th, he may be in a better position. But now, well, he's on top of his opponent's 4th expansion. The problem is he's sitting down supply, relying on some good Corrosive Bile hits. Is taking out True's Ravagers rather quickly. Queen's adding in some DPS, and even though Voltz does have a good concave, more and more Roach reinforcements coming out for True just a little bit faster, and Voltz is getting pushed back. He's now sitting down almost 30 supply. And Voltz has not been able to break True. It was honestly very, very close. It really almost turned out okay for Voltz after that big engagement with all of those banelings, but it was a big sunk cost that it got the damage done, but he just couldn't follow through. +2 Carapace on the way for True, and this is where things actually do start to really matter with those Carapace upgrades. +2 Carapace allows your Roaches a lot more survivability versus your opponents. 1 Muta being made. The ones, I guess the one scouting Muta, the one Muta that goes after Overlords. Interestingly enough, True is not making any Hydras. We have just reverted back to pure Roach tech for both these players, minus the 1 Muta. The 1 Muta is a special Muta. It will bear witness to the fights. And probably die to some random Corrosive Biles or something. Or like Queens just auto-attacking. It's just like the scouting Muta. It's almost like an observer.
Looks like we're going to the late game.
Okay. Well, apparently Voltz uses the Diva announcer pack. Well, Voltz is doing a good job splitting up his roaches to deal with the roach counterattack on the south side, or on that side. But all of these roaches and ravagers are going to go completely uncontested. Getting inside the natural expansion, taking out the queen, taking out some of the Ling reinforcements that are trying to pop out. And GG just gets called. Voltz doesn't even try and defend. True takes game number 1 in this best of 5. Okay, well, it wasn't actually as straightforward as of a game as most people probably expected going into this, and myself included. Voltz putting up a pretty valiant effort, but we get ready to hop into game number 2. The map will be Odyssey. We'll see you guys there. Right? Yes, we'll see you guys there. Here we are hopping into game number 2 of the Zerg vs. Zerg best of 5 as we start up or down here in the bottom right and up here in the top right. Give it up for Dank Shrine's Voltz going for a hatchery at the gold to open things up with. And his opponent up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player from Psystorm Gaming starting up 1-0. It is True. It's just True. There's nothing else to it. Oh man, does True know? This Overlord. Okay, no, it's just sending over here. I think he might just be sending it in a more roundabout path to catch Lings if there was a big Ling flood later on. You'd be able to see if the initial 6 Lings went around and we're going to try and turn into Banelings or something. And yeah, True's just going to sit over here, keeping an eye on things. I'm surprised he actually doesn't move a little bit lower, a little bit further south. I'm really not sure what this Overlord is actually scouting out. Voltz's Overlords are pretty straightforward. They're just move to my opponent's side of the map. True is going to get over here and see no natural expansion. And maybe start to wonder about things. Drone gets rallied over to the gold though, and Voltz is already going to be saturating this relatively well. Sitting up in workers at the same time. True makes a handful of Lings. 6 Lings. He's going to move around the map. He still has no idea about what's going on, but he is scouting around. I wonder, is he looking for his opponent's Lings? I feel like that's what he must be doing. He's going to encounter 2 in the middle of the map, but True's micro is a little bit too damn good. 2 Lings versus 2 Lings, and True takes the advantage, survives with both of his, thanks to that regeneration, spreading out the damage immediately. Now True sees that there's no natural expansion, and immediately alarm bells will be sounding. Baneling Nest has already been going up, maybe catching wind of the fact that the creep stride wasn't there also. Roach Warren is being made for Voltz. Now, how is he planning on making this work? We don't necessarily know just yet if True suspects that this is a big Ling all-in, or even just a big one-base Roach attack. He now sees that the natural expansion is coming down. Oh yeah, he knows something's up. He's going to the gold. He sees the creep stride over there. He's identified what he's up against. But how does he react? He's grabbing his own 3rd expansion, saying, well, I guess your natural is basically your 3rd, but he's going to be behind in terms of income. They're sitting on even workers, and Voltz has a gold. He's now rallying across the map with a lot of these Lings. Gotta be so careful. Oh, God, eats a Baneling to the face for 4 or 5 Lings. A decent trade for True. That's not so great of a trade. Voltz starting to make some progress now. Getting on top, very, very greedily on top of a lot of these banelings that are morphing in. Looks like two of them will, or one of them will end up finishing. But there's nothing over here to defend the gold expansion. True, both defending and being aggressive with all of his units. None of these drones are mining, but none of these drones will even possibly end up surviving their journey all the way back home. It's not even over to the natural expansion. It's all the way up the ramp. Some lings come back home to try and defend. They do buy a little bit of time. The roaches are now out, but are they out in large enough numbers to matter? They're immediately getting surrounded. True takes on his opponent's lings and his opponent's roaches. The Ravager also gets surrounded. The gold expansion is still technically up, but True has a bit of a worker lead now. That gold expansion is not being mined from. It's non-stop units being made as opposed to drones. Voltz is able to push his opponent back, though. Couple of banelings still just waddling around. Makes it a lot harder for Voltz to actually make use of his own lings. He's really just got to be relying on roaches, but he's so spread out across these bases. Voltz is just going to go for a counterattack. I mean, this could work, but True's army is mobile enough that he can kill off the gold and retreat back home in time to actually defend his natural expansion. As you can see, gold has been taken out. Lings are going to engage versus the Broodlords for a moment. I actually think that, they've had enough time to retreat back home. But they might not even need to. True actually has enough units. Oh god, the Corrosive Bile hitting his own roaches there. Yeah, that's going to be all she wrote. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, GG gets called. True takes the 2-0. He's now one game away from moving on to the winners round 8. Okay, well that was a bit more of a one-sided game. I like the idea from Voltz, but I wonder if he would have been better suited with a Ling Baneling all-in. Just a slightly delayed one that took advantage of the gold expansion. The Roach attack, I feel, you're going to have very immobile units. You're going to be so susceptible to even a small counterattack. Even just 6 Lings could have just completely decimated your gold expansion, killing off the Queen and everything else there, but... Well, we'll see what he has planned on Ascension to Ire, another map that does have a couple of weird bases on it, so we'll see. Okay, we get ready to hop into our match point game on Ascension to Ire. Spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, the Red Zerg player is an up-and-comer, but has not been able to prove himself just yet. Can he even take a game off of True? That is his big goal, I think. Give it up for Dank Shrine's Voltz. His opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the Blue Zerg player from Psystorm Gaming. Put your hands together for True. Okay, we got hatch gas pools from both of these players, making it a little bit more standard and normal than any of the other games we've seen so far. But okay, I was talking about how there are some weird bases on this map. It's primarily just, where is it? This one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no. Wait a second. Am I totally mistaken? Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of Odyssey. Ascension to Ire doesn't have any weird bases. All of them are just 8 mineral patches and 2 gas geysers. Yeah. I keep mixing up Odyssey and Ascension to Ire. They're both very green. They're both very similar layouts. It's always top left, bottom right. Oh, well. Okay, so what is Voltz gonna do? I mean, normally in ZVZ, you don't really want to take it to the late game or the super late game versus a player that you might consider better than you. So I expect that Voltz wants to probably try and get a bit aggressive. He tried to go for the big +1 missile attack Roach all-in game number 1. Game number 2, he tried to go for a gold expansion Roach all-in with some Ravagers, but what is he going to do in game number 3? He is maybe just going to play it out into Ling Bane Ling Micro. It's not an easy task versus someone like True, but both these players go for their thirds. And we may actually see a mid-game stage. A couple of Banelings being made on either side. Just playing a little bit safe, but True has a decent number of Lings. I take back what I said. This is going to be a big potential 3-base all-in off of True for True. He's not going to saturate up that third. He's barely going to be saturating up his natural expansion. And Voltz is going to make his way into the main base. He sees some of the Lings, but sees relatively good saturation over there. Sees kind of okay saturation at the natural, but it's going to be the fact that now he sees not only those Lings, but also suddenly Lings on his other side of the map. Oh my god, True though! Eats a Baneling to the face! A beautiful start for Voltz. As Voltz not only knows what he's up against now, but he's also softened up a large portion of the army that he's going to be up against. Another Baneling still available. Looking for a good connection. He's going to make a couple more. His Baneling saving up for a better connection. He's actually going to be able to find, okay, one gets around 4 or so of the Lings. Loses a few of his own Lings, though, to those Banelings. Overall, though, it seems like Voltz is stably holding. He's not getting a massive advantage. He has to be careful not to overcommit over here and get too aggressive. I mean, does he need to move out this far into the map? He is pushing back these Lings, but he's getting further and further away from the Queen defense. He's getting further and further away from the rest of his own reinforcements. He's losing his defender's advantage if he goes too far away. Looks like some of the drones over the third will get picked off. But Voltz is doing a really nice job. He's actually up in supply right now. No Banelings out right now for True, nor is he making any. Banelings slowly starting to push True further and further back. And Voltz takes a nice little economic lead. 8 workers up. Well, 7 workers. Started making a Roach Warren. And getting up a lair, getting up a evolution chamber, getting up a Roach Warren. Now the problem is, True is not done just yet. He's starting to drone up a little bit, but he's also making a lot more Lings and still making some more Banelings. He still wants to make something happen over here, even if it's just with a Baneling run by, even if it's not heavy committed aggression, as he is still starting to drone up quite a bit. There's not that many drones over at the third expansion, and these Banelings gonna be very much scouted out before they ever make their way into the natural. One Baneling does connect. Lang's gonna come flooding in behind this. Oh my god, okay. Could have been a scary moment. Banelings actually get some pretty good connections, softening up a lot of these workers as well. And these Baneling connections for Voltz are not that great, sacrificing quite a few of his Banelings for some pretty mediocre connections. And now the worker counts are evened up. Lair Tech also starting up for True. Now remember, Lair Tech is already finished, and Roach Speed is already being researched for Voltz. Oh god, okay. He does react in time. He splits up his drones very, very well. Still finding 3 or 4 connections. Looks like the remaining drones that are a bit lower on health are going to get picked off by some of these Lings. And True now taking a bit of a worker lead, but again, it's going to be about the faster Roaches, faster +1 coming out for Voltz. Faster Roach Speed coming out for Voltz. He needs to make a big attack happen with that army, with those specific upgrades. Because that is the big advantage he's putting all of his cards on the table for now. He is redroning a little bit. But man, things are looking a bit grim. I'm actually surprised, not clearing out the Zalaga Watchtower, so these Lings are going to catch wind of everything moving across the map. Granted, True probably, again, knows exactly what's coming. He has some Roaches of his own in the mix. It's going to be 17-10, but there's a defender's advantage going in favor of True. Not all the Roaches for Voltz are here at the front. And Banelings softened up some of the Roaches. Only softened up 2, so not the biggest deal in the world. It's even work counts for both sides. Almost even armory counts for both sides. But again, that defender's advantage cannot be neglected. One Ravager also out, and True manages to keep his Ravager alive a little bit longer. Was getting focus fire down. Interestingly enough, True is still making a lot more roaches, whereas Voltz seems to have transitioned out. He's starting to make drones right now. Still making a few roaches, but that's going to put True at a pretty massive roach advantage, with 9 more on the way compared to just 3. Ling counterattack getting ready for True as well, as he has 31 Lings to the total 0 Lings that... Well, is that 0 Lings? Yeah, looks like we just have 1 Baneling out for Voltz. That's what's taking up that extra space in the unit counting station. Oh, but Hydra Den going to come out a lot faster for Voltz. Honestly, Voltz is playing much better this game, but he is sitting down a lot in supply now, so... He's going to be able to start making a bunch of Hydras, but I don't know how he fell so far behind in supply. Was it just missing out on larva injects? I mean, it's hard to tell because you can just expend all of your queen energy immediately. 4th expansion is going to get immediately killed off. Cancelled. There we go. Ling run by also trying to move in, but sees all the roaches moving into defensive position. 3rd expansion might end up going down. Oh my god, True can just leave. True is up in supply, so he could take an engagement, but he can just wait for the rest of his reinforcements to get here. And here we go. He gets a beautiful concave. The Lings also flood into the main base. This is the dream for True. As he's going to take, I think, a favorable engagement on this side of the map. Might end up losing out on the Roach War, but killing off some of his opponent's workers, killing off the queens in the main base. Well, Voltz is starting to clean up. He's definitely lost quite a bit in terms of that Roach count. It's a 37-20. Voltz is still sitting down quite a few roaches. Interestingly enough, though, True did not take a 4th expansion, so he's not exactly that much better of a position. They're both sitting on even upgrades and +2 missile attack about to finish up for Voltz, so it's so odd to think about it. But even though the supply, I mean, Todd would be saying, look at the supply, but realistically, there is still a good fighting chance for Voltz. The problem really is about the fact that he lost that 3rd. That is the most difficult part about all of this, is that he is just not able to remax out on Hydras and get out more roaches nearly as fast as True. And I think that is going to be the big killing blow. 4th expansion being taken behind this for True as he moves out across the map with 185 supply, 54 roaches. And he's just going to walk in over here, ignore the corrosive biles, and go for the jugular. A valiant effort from Voltz. He gets out a couple of Hydras, but at the end of the day, True looks like he's going to be able to come out on top with a potential 3-0 victory as drones being pulled off the line. Always a sign of a final defeat. Voltz is not totally out of WCS NA Challenger just yet with this particular loss. Did move down to lower bracket, but True... Oh, wrong screen. True moves on to the winners round of 8 with a solid 3-0 victory. Okay, well, you know what? Still a good showing from Voltz. Obviously, True is going to be one of the harder opponents you could get in the very first round, but that is also the way that seeding works. And that was his first time in Challenger, so big congratulations to Voltz for making it there, doing his team proud, Dankshine Pro, and being able to qualify. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hop to another short break. I need to rest my voice a little bit, as that was our last Winners Round of Winners Round of 16 match. Our next match is going to be another series involving Voltz, but it's going to be facing off versus Puck, who ended up losing out to Game Time in the previous series that we cast. So stick around for that. We'll be back in a little bit, and I'm going to try and maybe get a little bit of food in me. So give me maybe around 4 minutes for this break, as I am rather hungry and I really should have eaten before we started.